Thank you all for coming. Welcome to JFK Airport. I'm Rick Cotton, Executive Director of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. We're here today to talk about the extraordinary volume of passengers that we expect this Thanksgiving weekend or this Thanksgiving week to all three of the region's airports. We expect record volumes of travelers, setting really the highest level of usage that we have seen. The growth of travel since the end of the pandemic has been extraordinary. And we are in the middle at JFK of an extraordinary transformation of the airport. We are driving investment of more than $19 billion, taking the airport from one of the nation's worst to one of the world's best airports. But we are in the middle of the construction project. It will be an experience that is entirely new at JFK. We will have a brand new Terminal 1, $9.5 billion construction price, 2.4 million square foot terminal. Its first phase will open in 2026. A brand new Terminal 6, $4.2 billion, 1.2 million square feet of terminal space, also opening in 2006. We have already completed two terminal projects, one at Terminal 4, a $1.5 billion expansion, and at Terminal 8, a $400 million expansion. And we, the Port Authority, are building a brand new roadway network. In total, a $19 billion investment. And I want to point out that 75% of that expense is privately financed. Now, in terms of the footprint, which is up on the screen, you can see the scale of what we're about. The new Terminal 1, which is highlighted in yellow at the bottom of the screen, the new Terminal 6 site at the top of the screen, and that entire blue area in the middle will be the new roadway network. We are actually approaching the halfway point in the construction of the new JFK. But what that means is that we are at the high point of construction. We have finished expansions at Terminal 4 and Terminal 8. We have opened new gates, new passenger lounges, and new concessions. But we're now in the phase of the heaviest construction of the new Terminal 1, the new Terminal 6, and the entire roadway network. We're making progress, very important to note. The entire structural steel for Terminal 1 and for Terminal 6 are virtually done. Terminal 1 will be weather-tight by the end of the year, and same for Terminal 6 early next year, very important construction milestones. And we will complete the first of a new electrical substation for the entire airport that will serve the new terminals. I want to stress the construction progress that we have made and the state of the construction. So here, these pictures, these are not renderings that are up on the chart. These are actual construction pictures. You can see the new Terminal 1 taking shape. You can see the very large arrivals and departures hall. See all the structural steel, the roof going in, and the curtain wall, the glass floor-to-ceiling curtain wall in. Here's another shot of the actual arrivals and departures hall in terms of the steel and in terms of the glass floor-to-ceiling windows that will surround it. Terminal 6, we actually had the ceremony for the topping out of the structural steel a few weeks ago. You can see the construction workers standing around for the celebration. And this is a wide-angle lens of the curtain wall going in for Terminal 6. Here's the site of the new roadways and the ground transportation center taking shape. Extensive steel in, bridges taking shape, very large areas of the airport showing the roadway construction. And here are the other bridges going in across the entire airport. The total construction will really be a stunning $19 billion. That is the largest infrastructure project in the country. $15 billion of private financing, $3.9 billion coming from the Port Authority. It's very important in an era when public finance is under such pressure that we are leveraging every single dollar of capital that the Port Authority itself invests will be matched by $3 from the private sector. But this produces a really unprecedented challenge, and that is our message to the traveling public. Historic volumes of passengers, record passengers. There's no question that the Thanksgiving weekend will be the highest on record. But the project, the construction project itself, is at the height of construction. A project of this size is daunting under any circumstances. But considering that we are rebuilding JFK while we are maintaining full operations and we're handling record numbers of passengers, we set a record for all of 2024. We're on track for 2024 to be the busiest, not only at all three of our airports, but in particular at JFK. And for the Thanksgiving week starting today, we are specifically forecasting record passenger volumes at JFK. We expect more than 1,340,000 passengers to travel through JFK during the 8-day Thanksgiving week, and that represents an increase of more than 25,000 passengers over last year's record numbers. Building new roads and terminals while we face record holiday passenger volume at the airport is an enormous challenge, especially in managing traffic. We want to caution and warn travelers that inevitably at peak times there will be heavy traffic, maybe some congestion. Our message to the traveling public is very direct and very simple. Leave extra time if you plan to travel through one of the Port Authority airports this weekend. Leave at least 3 hours to get to the airport. And we urge everyone, if you're traveling, to consider public transportation. So with that, I'm going to turn the podium over to Jessica Force, who is the project executive for the JFK Transformation Project, to talk through some of the specific traffic. What am I doing? All right. I want to start Jessica off on the right foot. So I'm now going to turn the podium over to Jessica Force, as I said, project manager for the JFK Transformation Project, to talk about the specific impacts and strong suggestions that we have for passengers, for travelers, to manage as best as can their passage through JFK Airport. Jessica?
Good afternoon, everyone. As Rick said, I wanted to take you through some very specific impacts and specific instructions about what we want travelers to know as they're coming to JFK through this holiday period. First and foremost, know that we have a proactive traffic management strategy in place. We partner with our Port Authority Police, traffic engineering, our operations team to really staff a 24/7 airport operations center, which is constantly monitoring traffic, observing conditions, observing delays, taking in information from the airlines, and creating proactive measures, proactive mitigations to manage traffic for customers traveling through the airport. As part of that, we've instituted, and something we instituted earlier this summer, is a relocated for-hire vehicle pickup operation for those customers coming to Terminal 4. So from noon to 2 a.m. at Terminal 4, anyone arriving at the airport will need to take a shuttle bus to a remote location to pick up their for-hire vehicle. That is an Uber, a Lyft, various Dial 7s, those other transportation companies. The shuttle buses will arrive at the frontage right where you would pick up your car. They come every 2 minutes, and they transport you to the remote lot where you can then find your car. If you want to avoid the bus, another option is to take the air train to the Lefferts Boulevard Air Train Station, where you can also pick up your Uber and Lyft at that location. Just wanted to make it clear that drop-offs for those customers departing the airport are not affected. This is only for customers arriving on their planes at JFK. As Rick said, we really would like to leverage and encourage travelers to take public transit. The JFK Air Train at Jamaica Station is just 20 minutes via the Long Island Railroad from either Penn Station, Grand Central, or Atlantic Terminal. Easy access from Long Island from points east via the Long Island Railroad as well. Additional peak hour capacity trains have been added to the air train routes from Jamaica Station. If you wanted to take the subway, you can take the A train via Howard Beach, or the E, the J, and the Z, also at Jamaica Station. So some of the strategies that we've put into place have been working. Since the summer, we have, on a peak day, over 4,000 less vehicles that access the roads in the congested central terminal area. That's a total of 500,000 vehicles that have been diverted from the central terminal area roadways since we put this operation into effect in July. Additionally, more people have heeded our call to use mass transit to get to JFK, with air train ridership up 14% this year. But if you choose to drive this holiday season, you really can expect congestion on the airport roadways. As Rick alluded to, we are in the peak construction period, and we are hitting record traffic volumes at the airport. Those two things combined are going to mean traffic on the terminal area roadways. Things that we really want drivers to be aware of: know before you go. Terminal access routes have changed. Be alert for detour signage. Your usual route, the route that you've been taking for years to come to JFK, may no longer be available. For example, Terminal 7, Terminal 8 only have access via the JFK Expressway and no longer have access from the Van Wyck Expressway. So again, we want to stress to drivers, please know your terminal before you go and look at your routes before you leave for the airport. There's reduced parking availability. All of this construction means there's 3,500 less spaces, less parking spaces available at the airport. The parking impacts are felt across multiple lots at the airport, but most acutely in those close-in parking lots adjacent to the terminals. We have created remote overflow lots, which allow connection either via bus routes or via air train to the central terminal. If you're choosing to drive, leave early and pre-book your parking. As Rick alluded to, please plan to arrive at the airport at least 3 hours ahead of your scheduled flight time. Pre-book your parking spot to ensure there is availability. It'll save you money and, again, ensure there'll be availability when you arrive at the airport to park. Another item we'd like to highlight is the free pickup and drop-off lot adjacent to the Lefferts Boulevard Air Train Station. Again, you can save time and money and steer clear of all that traffic and congestion that we're predicting to be at the airport and at the congested terminal areas. You can drop off your customers, drop off your loved ones at this location. They can take a free 8-minute air train ride to all of the terminals. You can also tell your loved ones to take the air train once they arrive and meet you at the Lefferts Boulevard Air Train Station, where you can wait for free for your passenger to arrive. These parking lots, and if you choose to park, are adjacent to the long-term parking areas, so there are abilities for you to park longer term also if wanted. Again, it's a free 8-minute shuttle ride on the air train from the Lefferts Boulevard station, and this will allow you to avoid all of the congestion and the crowded roadways adjacent to the terminals. And now I'll turn it back over to Rick to just take you through the vision of what we are building today.
Thank you, Jessica. We don't want to lose sight of why we are doing this. First of all, we apologize for any inconvenience that the construction process and the traffic cause for any traveler. But we believe, and we hope everyone will come to believe, that the pain is worth the gain. Here is a rendering of the new Terminal 1, which is under construction. It will be the largest terminal at Kennedy. It will be modern. It will be an experience which will be as enjoyable as the one that we have created at LaGuardia and at Terminal A at Newark. Here's an internal rendering in terms of what we aspire to at Terminal 1. Similarly, at Terminal 6, this is a rendering of the completed Terminal 6. This is an internal rendering of the new Terminal 6. We are announcing concession selections as we go along, world-class concessions, creating a New York sense of place. The first round of concession operators have already been selected at Terminal 6 and Terminal 8, including Italy, New York chef David Chang's Fuku, and DeFara Pizza, among many others. Other terminals will be announcing shortly their iconic and New York sense of place concessions. In addition, public art has become a signature of Port Authority airports. These new terminals will have the same commitment to making the experience of moving through the airport a memorable one that is inspiring and appealing as well as functional. Terminal 6 selected 18 artists, many from New York City, and we cite those only as examples of what we intend for this new airport. The roadways project, well underway, but when it completes, 8 new bridges, major modifications to 5 of the existing bridges, over 6 miles of new roads. There will be 30% fewer decision points for drivers. There'll be a 30% reduction in traffic merges or weaves, and 34 new overhead sign structures to make the wayfinding at the new JFK much more common sense and much more visible to drivers than the present. Now, as we move forward on that, one can't resist saying we have done this before. If you look at the experience of travelers at LaGuardia Airport, at New Terminal A at Newark, what you're seeing is airports that have gone from worst, quite literally, to best. 3 weeks ago, LaGuardia was named by the Forbes Travel Service based on a survey of a 5,000-person panel consisting of travel experts who they had selected and from frequent flyers who they had selected. And that panel voted to award LaGuardia the recognition of best airport in the entire country. Terminal A recognized at the beginning of the year with the best new airport in the world recognition from Skytrax, which is one of the premier airport surveys in the world. So that is the bar that we have set ourselves. That is the bar that we are committed to achieving at JFK. We recognize that there is interim inconvenience. We ask people to bear with us. We ask for patience. But we are headed to do it again, and we will wind up with a JFK that the region can truly be proud of. I'll now turn it back to Jessica to talk about the tour that we will be taking, that we will have for you this morning.
Yep, so just following this, we have the bus outside, and we'll be going to 2 locations. The first location will be going into the new Terminal 1, and we'll have a vantage point from the departures level, so actually mimicking some of the renderings and photos that you've seen today. And then the second stop we'll take will be just adjacent to Terminal 6, where you can see some of the new roadway construction that's going on at Terminal 6, as well as the terminal construction happening at that location as well.
I will still turn the hard questions over to Jessica.
Two quick questions. Question one is, on the, for-hire vehicles, taking the shuttle bus to the Leopard slot, you just arrived here from London or from on an international flight, can you just address that sort of exhausting feeling you get here, you can't even just jump into your car? How much do you think that adds, and what would you say to folks who have to move through all of that?
Well, what I would say is we're dealing with a reality that would be worse for them. What we're committed to is avoiding gridlock on the airport. We're committed to the roads continuing to operate. There are other airports, by the way, who have the same kind of busing operation. But the main point is this airport, as it is currently built, has its terminals and the terminal frontages around a central terminal area. And those roadways, the historic roadways, had a certain throughput. The result of the construction is now to reduce the carrying capacity of those roadways. And we're simply committed to continuing to keep the airport in operation. Part of keeping the airport in operation is to ensure that traffic continues to move on the roads. The only way we can do that is to reduce the number of vehicles who are trying to get to the frontages. And so what we ask is for people to recognize that, to bear with us. But right now there are 3 terminals where the for-hire vehicles do not pick up on the frontage. And that is Terminal 5, Terminal 7, and Terminal 4. And so we are trying to continue the airport in operation. We'd like to minimize the times that people experience impossible traffic on the airport. There will be congestion, but we are simply committed to take whatever steps we need to in order to ensure that the airport continues to function.
And just real quick follow on the air traffic controller shortage, which has been reported, is that having an impact this holiday week at the 3 airports?
Well, the air traffic control shortage is frankly simply a problem. This is the most congested airspace in the country and probably in the world. It is an enormous challenge to manage the volume of airplanes going in and out. So the FAA air traffic control system has its biggest challenge here. That has been compounded by the fact there is a shortage of air traffic controllers nationally. There's specifically a shortage of air traffic controllers in this region. I would say big picture also, we as a country have not invested enough in our air traffic control technology. The fact is we are laggards, we are not leaders in terms of being able to handle more efficiently higher numbers of airplanes coming in and out of our region's airport. So we have urged the federal government, we have said to the FAA, we are prepared to work with them to be helpful in any way that we can. But the federal government and the entire system has to invest both in new technology and in terms of investing in the training of additional air traffic controllers. Yeah.
I assume this construction headache will continue through the Christmas holiday, and you said it's going to get better before it gets worse. When do you think travelers will be able to receive an easier experience at JFK, and some of these restrictions might be lifted?
Well, 2026, I think, is a date where there will be important changes for the better. The 2 new terminals will have their phase 1 openings. A good section, if not almost all, of the new roadway network will be in place. And it is at that point that some of these restrictions and the virtues of the new JFK will begin to be evident to travelers.
And the 3-hour warning for passengers to arrive, what does that account for? Why do they need to be here so early?
Well, it's simply leaving extra time. The fact is there are uncertainties when you have the crowds that we anticipate this week and this travel season. So you're protecting, in some sense, against something going wrong or a particularly severe congestion develops. We don't expect that, but nonetheless, there are going to be crowds, there's going to be traffic. It is going to take people longer to navigate their way through the airport. As I said, we urge people to do their best not to bring personal cars, not to increase the number of vehicles that are trying to get to the frontages of the terminal or into what the airport calls the central terminal area. That is where the congestion is going to be worse. The measures that we have taken are designed in particular to keep the for-hire vehicles, the Ubers, the Lyfts, to have them pick up. I emphasize pick up. They can still drop off at the frontages. But their pickup procedure is chaotic. There's no other word for it. And so moving that off of the frontages, moving it out of the central terminal area enables traffic even on the more compromised throughput capabilities of the roadways to move better. Yes.
Would you consider lowering the price of the air train again for the holiday season or this year, next year, or around Christmas? Has volume increased on the air train at all? And the second question is, who is going to be operating Terminal 1?
Let me take one at a time. So obviously, we made the decision that last summer for a 2+ month period, communicating that there was a reduced fare on the air train would get people to evaluate it as a real option. We've looked at that in terms of shorter periods of start and stop and concluded that at least right now, we're not going to move in that direction. But we'll continue to look at it over the broader period of time of the summer. That was what we thought would have an impact. We're still looking to evaluate exactly, but there was an increase in air train usage of about 14%.
And also, who is operating Terminal 1?
There is the sponsors of Terminal 1 have 3 private companies who are providing the funding for building it, and they will continue to operate the terminal. And I might say we're extremely grateful to our private partners. And just to emphasize one point that I made earlier, which is the terminals are built with private money. There is no Port Authority capital invested in any of the terminal projects. That enables us to focus on the infrastructure, meaning the roadways, the garages, the electrical capacity. So we leverage for every dollar of Port Authority capital that goes into the airport transformation, there's $3 of privately financed funding going into the terminal construction. And that's an important point in terms of what the Port Authority can orchestrate in terms of the scale of transformation that you're collectively seeing. Remember, the whole transformation of all 3 of the Port Authority's main airports drives an investment of more than $30 billion. Unheard of, unprecedented in Port Authority history. As I said before, JFK specifically, but certainly our airport network investment as a whole is the largest infrastructure project in the country at the present time.